So welcome everyone to the Community Solar Update as part of our 6th annual Solar and EV Expo at the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy. This is part of National Drive Electric Week, and here at CEBE our mission is to engage the community in developing practical ecological solutions in the areas of food, shelter, energy, and transportation. The goal today is to teach you all a little bit about community solar options in our area, an evolving field, give you some up-to-date information. Before we get going, we want to acknowledge that we are here today on land once nurtured by the Wabanaki people, here specifically in Western Maine, the Aroostook, who for millennia lived in cooperation with this now shattered ecosystem, who are still fighting for their sovereignty, and to whom we owe an unfathomable debt. If you haven't been a part of the rest of the Solar and EV Expo this week, you can catch up with our other recorded webinars and videos on our website. I'll put that link in the chat here in a moment. And on Thursday night, we're going to have another session, 2030, a vision for electric mobility in Western Maine. We would love to see you there. So again, I'll put the registration link in the chat if you want to catch more of that. If you're new to Zoom, please keep yourself muted during the presentation. We'll have time for questions and answers afterwards. So if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or save them for later and you can speak up and ask them yourself. If you have a question for a specific presenter, please add their name to your question so we know if you're directing it to someone in particular, or if you just want to throw it out to the field and let them choose, that's great too. I am recording this and I'll send you the link afterwards, so if you have any technical difficulties or you want to go back and watch it again, you can do that. If you don't want your particular video screen to be part of the recording, you can turn off your video. We want to take a moment to thank our event sponsors, some of who are represented here tonight: Paris Auto Barn, Lee Auto Malls, Revision Energy, Garbo-Kane Integrated Solar Builders, Powermarket, Nexamp, Seacoast e-bikes, and Plug-in America have all generously helped make this event happen. And additionally, we've got a raffle going on, so your attendance here earns you one entry into the raffle for some gift cards to our local area businesses, and we'll be announcing the winners next week's newsletter. So keep an eye out for that. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Dunn of our Energy Working Group, and he's going to introduce himself and get us rolling.
Okay, thank you, Renee. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Dunn, and I am a member of the Energy Working Group and the Climate Action Group of the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy, known as CEBE. CEBE is in the town of Norway, Maine. And I'm here to give a few words on community solar and to introduce our panelists. So let me share my screen with you. Hopefully I'm sharing the right one here. Does that look like the right thing?
Looks good.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to start out with a little poll and find out who is here. Are you representing yourself or as a homeowner or a renter, or are you a business owner? And if you would just answer the poll that should be up on your screen at this point. We'll give you about 15 seconds to do that. How many do we have tonight, Renee?
We're at 21.
21, okay.
That includes us though, and we're not taking the poll.
Ah, okay.
Oh, shit. Somebody forgot to mute.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we have, I'll end the poll now. It looks like we have the vast majority are homeowners and renters. So we're sort of anticipating that. So we will focus our presentation on the homeowner and the renter. There are a few business owners, however, and what I would recommend that you do is that you should check in with any of the particular vendors, any of these vendors who we have tonight, as well as anybody else you're considering, and ask them the specifics for being a business. Okay, community solar puts renewable energy in the hands of those who can't install solar panels for whatever reason, or who simply don't want to put holes in their roof or decorate their yards with panels. Community solar takes advantage of economies of scale, recent policy changes, and some accounting techniques to bring solar electricity to a group of people and/or businesses. At its heart is a centrally located solar power project that generates electricity that is measured by the utility company, CMP in our case, Central Maine Power, and is allocated to the various people, the users, on a monthly basis. And all you do is sign an agreement and let the project locate, build, connect, maintain an array, and manage the net metering part of the relationship between you and CMP. Maine enacted several bills in 2019 that took us from being one of the most regressive states in the nation in terms of solar policy to being fairly progressive. Probably LD 1711 was the most sweeping and has, among other things, initiated a land rush to build out solar power projects across the state. Indeed, if you own land within about 2 miles of a power substation, you have probably been contacted by a company offering to lease your land for a solar project. There are two major models for community solar. The ownership model is one in which the solar project is owned by the participants. Yes, that means the participants have to pay up front to participate. Within this model, there may be several varieties. Some ask that participants buy a number of panels, some ask that you buy a portion of the entire project, and there may be other variations on this theme. The subscription model usually requires no upfront cost to participate. A subscriber merely signs on the dotted line and reaps the benefits of a lower energy bill. A separate, usually corporate entity is responsible for building, financing, maintaining, and managing the project. In schematic form, it looks kind of like this. Most of us are simply subscribers. That's us in the little colored boxes here. Are merely simply subscribers to CMP's standard offer. That's represented by this top left red arrow that represents energy flowing from the grid, from the utility company, to you. The green arrow right below it represents your money flowing back to the utility company. We're familiar with this model. Community solar adds to this scheme 3 more arrows. First, there is a solar array that pushes energy onto the grid, as indicated by this red arrow. Then the project sends credits, as indicated by the blue arrow, to the utility, and the utility adjusts your bill. Finally, a second green arrow represents the money that you send to the project to pay for that electricity, for that solar electricity. Yes, that means you get 2 bills, one from CMP and one from the community solar project. But you will pay less in total because there is typically a 5 to 15% discount on the solar electricity. There is always a minimum bill from CMP. What happens if you use less energy than you signed up for? CMP will still bill you for the privilege of being connected to the grid and for a minimum amount of electricity. But the unused energy goes into your account's energy bank for later use. Yes, that means that if it is winter and cloudy, you can draw from the energy bank that you banked over the summer and apply that towards your bill. If you don't use it within a year, you lose it to CMP. The moral of that story here is don't oversubscribe. The solar company will determine your appropriate allocation. Is this environmentally friendly? That seems like a stupid question. An obvious answer. Well, of course solar power is environmentally friendly, but not quite so fast. Let's take a look. In the world of energy, there is a concept called energy returned on energy invested, or EROEI. It is a number or a ratio that represents the amount of energy one gets back from the work required to obtain that energy. We understand this intuitively. Think about your firewood supply. The trees don't jump off their stumps, cut themselves into slices, split themselves, and march into neat stacks in your woodshed of their own accord. We have to burn gasoline in our chainsaws and work to gather the energy stored in that wood. The wood's energy far exceeds the energy in gas and the peanut butter sandwiches required to make this happen. We wouldn't do it otherwise. Similarly, it takes energy to produce a solar panel. 30 years ago, it took decades for a panel to pay back the energy used to produce it. Today, manufacturers are producing better panels far more efficiently. It takes about 2 years to regain that energy. It takes another 2 years to pay back the energy invested in the construction site and the materials used to hold the panels in an array. From then on, it's all gravy. Solar panel arrays make sense in terms of energy. Regarding land use, I've worked with several community solar companies in the last year or so. I've been very pleasantly pleased that everyone has placed a high value on land stewardship. It would be really easy to plant rows of solar panels on prime agricultural lands, but they usually don't. That's commendable. What they will do is cut down a forest and put in a solar array. Is this defensible environmentally? Well, it turns out to be not so bad, at least in terms of atmospheric carbon. Indeed, the carbon that would have been sequestered by that forest for the typical 25-year life of the solar project is far more than offset by the carbon that would have been emitted by the power plants to produce the same electricity that the solar project produces. In fact, a Vermont study has shown a 7 to 35 times carbon advantage to solar projects sited on forest land. The large range is due to the varying portion of fossil fuel used to produce electricity in a region, the location and health of the forest, and other factors. Of course, forests provide more environmental services for us than carbon sequestration, such as wildlife habitat and water filtering. I don't know if any studies have been done to see how this balances out. And land doesn't have to be dedicated solely to energy production. It turns out that grass can grow as well or better in partial shade. Given this, some installers are spacing the rows of solar panels a little wider and then moving animals into the area, like goats or sheep. This actually builds soil fertility, possibly captures more atmospheric carbon in the soil, and provides another source of income for the landowner. In permaculture, this is called a stacking function. This is now being done on some solar projects. Finally, the companies I've spoken with as a landowner and prospective host of a community solar project promise to come back after 25 years and remove the equipment and basically restore the land to the way they found it. Most set aside a trust of some sort so they know the money is there when it's needed. They don't replant the trees, but that's okay. In short, while there are many more environmental factors to consider than I've considered here, it seems to me that small or large solar installations are reasonably justifiable environmentally. And now to our panelists. We have 3 companies represented tonight. I want to thank each of them for being a panelist, and I want to thank all of them for being a sponsor. Their sponsorship helps CEBE produce events like this Solar&EV Drive Expo Week. I've asked the panelists to please correct anything that I've said with the most updated information. Our goal here is to help you understand community solar so that you can more intelligently make a decision regarding community solar. And finally, I thank each panelist and their companies for taking advantage of Maine's new laws to help Maine reach our climate goals. Each panelist will have 5 or 6 minutes to make a presentation. And our first panelist is Chris Jones of Revision Energy. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Just going to
Let's
share my
yep.
screen.
Stop my screen.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for joining this evening. I'll certainly try and be brief. The first thing I'll say is that ultimately, all solar is good solar. Clean energy being put on the grid, that's a great thing. And, I think that we're talking about a few different options with regard to solar energy, and, certain options will work for certain folks. I don't think there's necessarily a better or worse option. But we'll dive into how those options differ. I'm with Revision. I've been doing this for about 4 years now, going to people's homes, designing systems that will work for them, as well as speaking to certain community groups about the advantages of the renewable energy transition. Tell you a little bit about Revision. We are an employee-owned company right here in Maine, based in South Portland. We've got several other branches throughout New England. All employee owned, and we're also a B corporation, which is a designation that sort of equates to like the business world equivalent of having your organic stamp or fair trade, something like that. If you don't know a lot about being a B Corp, take a look. It's pretty interesting, and it's a designation that we're very proud of. Our mission is to accelerate and lead the transition to a clean, renewable energy economy in northern New England. What does that mean for homeowners anyway, and ultimately for businesses as well? What that means is to pursue the electrification of the building to as great an extent as possible. That may mean electric heat, electric domestic hot water, electric vehicles, so on and so forth. And then, once you've done that, produce as much of that electricity as you can cleanly with solar. And, when you do that, when you complete the renewable energy transition in this fashion, obviously the environmental benefits sort of go without saying. Economically speaking, you're sort of able to distance yourself from these volatile energy curves and sort of, secure for yourself one nice predictable overall energy rate. So that's our philosophy with regard to the renewable energy transition. We've been putting community solar farms up throughout Maine for years now. Right now, there are in fact 14 that we've installed and continue to manage. There's pictures of them here. And yeah, Mike mentioned LD 1711. I think that one of the most important aspects of that legislation was the cap on community solar farms went from 9 members, which was ultimately a fairly arbitrary number and sort of kept the economies of scale of those projects, deflated. Anyway, that cap was lifted, and all of a sudden, the potential for savings for these projects really expanded, right? The more panels that you install, the cheaper each one becomes. So the lifting of that cap really meant some important changes for community solar farms here in Maine. It's interesting to me, along with that legislative change, subscription-based community solar became a thing. It was all of a sudden part of the conversation here in the state. And subsequently, it sort of seems that roof-mounted solar it's almost been like a referendum on roof-mounted solar. And I would sort of just quickly make the point that, roof-mounted solar is still, a very, very compelling option worth considering. By no means does it necessarily have a worse cost per watt. I think ultimately the important thing for everyone to do is to really consider all of their options, not only community solar, but roof-mounted as well. Ground-mounted solar on private property, there's still advantages to those projects as well. So again, different options. Each one's going to work for different folks. And if you do have the opportunity to consult with Revision, we'll try and find the option that's going to work best for you. Some folks who might be well served by community solars, CSFs, if you like. Certainly folks who rent or own condos. If you have a roof that's particularly shaded or obstructed. If you think you might be moving to another spot within the state within a few years, you can in fact take your ownership-based community solar farm share with you. If for some reason you don't like the look of solar panels, you're a good fit. If you think for some reason your roof may need to have new rafters put in place, new shingles, etc. And if, lastly, if you already have a roof-mounted system, but you think that, you're going to increase your energy usage in the years ahead, you could pursue a community solar farm share to supplement that. And, there's sort of, in some ways, a sort of almost a philosophical difference. There's a real sort of community sense to the ownership-based model, which I think a lot of our existing members really value. You know, it is definitely an increased opportunity to connect with some like-minded folks throughout the community. You know, obviously the difference is that the customers, in this case, they own the equipment, they make an upfront investment just as they would with a rooftop system. You know, this investment can be a cash purchase or financed with a loan. You are still in this way able to take advantage of the federal tax credit that is available. And you know, you become an owner as of the LLC that's created. Effectively, each farm is its own LLC, which in this case, Revision Energy would manage. And then Mike, of course, explained how the net metering policy will function and allow credits to be shifted from the project to CMP to the subscribers, or the owners in this case. I'll quickly put this up and say that if you would like to learn more about your various options, CSF and otherwise, I hope you'll be in touch. You can reach our Liberty branch there, our Portland branch here. In either case, you can email us there. This is our website, and we'd be happy to review these options with you. And you know, if you do decide that you'd like to take a look at a community solar farm share proposal, which we'd be happy to present you with, we'll send you a nice detailed proposal, which is going to really illustrate, you know, the differences between the status quo, what your energy looks like today with CMP versus what your energy will look like and your energy expenses over the project term, community solar farm share. Again, these investments can be financed or bought outright. It's certainly nuanced. You know, in addition to the tax credit, there's some other really key numbers that you'll want to be able to consider, and you know, we'll do our best to make that clear to you. I'd like to think that, you know, one important number to keep in mind is, right, CMP, as Mike pointed out, right now their minimum charge per month is $13, and then the combined delivery and supply rates is right now basically 15 cents per kilowatt hour.
Chris, time to wrap up.
Yep, rest assured a community solar farm is going to deliver a far better kilowatt hour rate than that. So definitely be in touch if you'd like to learn more about the ownership model for community solar farm. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. And unshare your screen or stop sharing. There we go. Thank you. Okay, another Chris Mills at Nexamp. Chris, you want to take it away?
Absolutely, Mike. I will screen share right now. Can everyone see this?
No.
Okay, let's try that again.
Looking
How
good?
about now?
Yes.
All right. So as Mike mentioned, my name is Chris Mills. I work for Nexamp. Big shout out to CEBE and Mike and Scott for putting this on. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. A little background on Nexamp. We are a veteran-founded community solar developer and asset owner. What does that mean? We are a fully vertically integrated solar developer. We do everything in-house, from the construction to the customer acquisition to the billing, the customer service, and the operation of a solar farm throughout the 25-year life cycle. We take care of everything under one roof within Nexamp. A couple accolades here, named Clean Energy Company of the Year by Northeast Clean Energy Center in 2015. We partner with many local groups like CEBE, a lot of environmental causes, nonprofits, municipalities, some are listed here. We also build solar farms in over 13 states, really looking to be a market leader in megawatts installed, and also just looking to bring community solar to any state that has the legislation behind it that supports projects such as these. We also do a fair amount of work with religious groups and municipalities. As Mike touched on earlier, Community Solar in Maine is really open to everyone, renters, homeowners, businesses, and we make it extremely easy to enroll. We are part of the subscription model option. for all Maine customers. We have a guaranteed 15% discount on the solar credits that we can provide your bills. And that's guaranteed for as long as you want to participate, whether that be 3 months or whether that be 25 years. There's no sign-up costs, termination fees, obviously no installation on your property. So all we really have is we collect an electric bill, we run an analysis similar to what Revision Energy was touching on, and then we provide you with a contract with the appropriate solar allocation. Again, we're here for all of your needs, customer service team and the in-house enrollment. If you are interested, feel free to visit our website at nexamp.com. And I think you'll find the sign up is very straightforward and quick. This was released a couple of weeks ago. We just acquired a 50 megawatt portfolio from Dimension Energy in Maine. That's on top of what we've already developed in-house, and we are actively acquiring new projects throughout the state. So if you do have land or you're interested in learning more, we are actively developing projects of our own, but also looking to acquire as many projects as possible, both in Emera and CMP territories. This is something that we launched last year, and Mike touched on this earlier, so I'm glad I included this slide. This is a solar farm that we built in Newfield, New York, and we launched a solar grazing program. So we have about 150 sheep that are living on this Newfield solar farm, and it's been working out really great. We look to expand this program to our main projects, and just continue to be environmental stewards in the best way that we can. And that would be it. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to us and definitely ask any questions with regards to how community solar works, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was awesome. Now we move to Nick Bodwin. He is representing Powermarket. Nick, take it away.
All right, how am I coming through?
Good.
Lovely. So first of all, hi everyone, it's great to meet everybody, and thanks CEBE for putting this up. So my company, Powermarket, we've been in the community solar industry for 6 years now. We are a community solar subscriber management company. So that means we're actually not a developer. We don't develop these projects, but instead we manage all the subscribers. We make sure we do the education, the outreach, any sort of management and billing that needs to happen, and the support. And we have over 25,000 subscribers, a part of our Powermarket projects. So we are an incredibly experienced company when it comes to community solar. Like I said, we started 6 years ago and we're up to 20 employees. And we've been able to take a very sustainable approach to growth. We remain 100% employee owned, just like Revision. So, just like them, we're very, very proud of that. Ultimately, our mission statement is we're looking to work to make clean energy more accessible, or affordable, and ubiquitous through community solar. So all our projects are subscription-based products. We don't do anything up front. And being in business for so long, relatively in the community solar space, we've managed to put over $800,000 back into the pockets of our subscribers. So that's another thing that we're incredibly proud of. All our projects come with no exit fees, no fees to join, and guaranteed savings over the lifetime of the project. Whoops, there we go. So we are a local company in Maine. We have offices in New York City, but at the same time, right now we are scattered around. We're scattered around New England, and we were going to, when we came into Maine, we were going to start a Maine office, but unfortunately, we have the pandemic has given us other plans, I guess. But we at Powermarket, wherever we go, we do grassroots campaigns with nonprofits, housing authorities, municipalities, local businesses, large and small, and we hire locally. So we've created 5 jobs in Maine thus far, and we're excited to try to expand that. I told Kay and Pat I'd give them a hi since they're here. Kay and Pat are some amazing employees of ours doing these grassroots approaches and campaigns. We also do donation programs, so we can really keep all the benefits of community solar. We can keep them local. So we partner with organizations, let it be municipal or environmental groups or very local entities, and we do either donation models or we run a campaign through them. So we have 5 projects right now that we're opening enrollment for. Like it says, the earliest coming online in December 2020. We will be the first community solar project, residential community solar project in the ground in Maine. So we're incredibly excited. That's the Belfast Community Solar Project, but we have Baldwin, Gardner, and China right afterwards. A lot of these projects, especially the Gardner projects, they're on rooftops, and the Baldwin project, it's in a gravel pit. So, it's all, we are very, very sensitive to land use, and have actually partnered with a land trust to really make sure that we're preserving land and doing community solar in the right way. So I wanted to be really quick, this way we can get to questions, but you can join our Belfast program today. We have open enrollment right now. Again, like I said, we offer donations, let it be to our partner or a land trust partner, or money off your community solar bill. We know community solar can be difficult to wrap your head around, so we really thank CEBE for this. And you can call me at that number right there, or email me directly, and we have a sign-up link to the Belfast program. Again, you can do it in 5 minutes or less. We try to make community solar accessible to all, and spread renewable energy and kind of transition to a clean economy. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nick. That was very good. Scott Vlon, Executive Director of CEBE.
Sir.
It's all yours to tell us about Norway Community Solar.
Yeah, so CEBE's been working on community solar here for a long time. Thanks to Mike, actually, who got us involved in this Sunshot project years back. It was a Department of Energy project where they had some funding to help communities develop solar projects, and they were selecting a few that they would fully fund. We worked really hard on that project, that Sunshot project, for a couple of years. We got some technical funding from the DOE to help us hire consultants. There was a whole panel of consultants out there to choose from. Excuse me for a second. We just got a little kerfluffle going on in here. So anyway, so we worked on this for quite a while, and we realized that we had this 9-person limit to a community solar farm. So our idea was to kind of roll these things out, but the economics, as a number of you guys have mentioned, just didn't pan out, and we couldn't find investors into these small farms. And obviously anybody who was interested in investing solar was going elsewhere to other states that had more favorable policies. So what we ended up doing was kind of pulling back from that project and going to work lobbying for LD 1711 and writing letters to the editor and op-eds and going to Augusta and showing up for hearings. And we finally got the bill passed, and the rest is history. And now we've got this kind of wild west of solar going on here, and really heartwarming to hear from all of you guys, from the 3 of you, about all these projects and seeing it roll out, and seeing Maine go from being, like Mike was saying before, like the biggest laggard to a leader in community solar, or into solar in general. So what happened shortly after that is we went to the town, and there's a sealed landfill in the town of Norway. It's Norway and South Paris, a couple of acres. And I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little chart here I can show you. This is, so we started working with Vaughn Woodruff from InSource Renewables and Tyler Adkins from UGE as a developer to develop, they wanted to develop solar projects connected to co-ops. We are in the building with Fair Share Co-op here, and we want to get our food co-op on solar, and also where there would be an option for technical training. And this site that we're looking at is within spitting distance from our tech school. So we're hoping to develop a training program to get, because we're realizing that to install all this solar in Maine now, we're going to need some bodies, especially electricians. So I'm just going to show you really quickly what this looks like.
A little less than 2 minutes, Scott.
Okay, yeah, this is good. Yeah, so this is a kind of like the proposal that we just saw. I believe it was from Revision about, just kind of laying out. So that's our site. And if anybody who's in this area knows, that's the Norway South Paris transfer station. There's our site back there in this big sealed
Scott,
landfill.
I'm not seeing
Yes, sir.
anything. Is
Oh,
other people
dear.
seeing a white screen also? Okay.
You guys aren't seeing that screen?
It's
I
all
don't think
white.
so.
It's
All
it's
white.
All
the
white.
site on a really snowy day.
Oh yeah, so that's the way the site looks in a blizzard in January. Sorry. No idea why. Does that change anything?
No.
Huh. Well, I'll be darned. It's a PDF that it's my screen, and I'm sharing it, and I can see it and you can't. So anyway, I will just stop that. So we have the site back there. It's about a megawatt. It's 2,500 and some odd panels. It's about enough power for 180 residences. We really want to focus the solar farm on Norway, on residences, but also on small businesses in Norway. And because of that, the town of Norway has offered to just let us have the site for no charge. So our plan, and unfortunately, we are stuck in the queue with CMP, as hundreds of megawatts of solar is now. We don't have the best situation for really expanding solar the way we'd like to see it happen in Maine, because CMP is basically foot dragging because there's really nothing in it for them. And that's the reason why I think we're gonna try to get this solar farm up and running, but we're also gonna go back to the next phase of lobbying for a consumer-owned utility. And if Maine can take the utility and make it a consumer-owned utility, then I think that we'll see the kind of solar build out happen a lot faster that we need to see. So that's kind of where we are now, kind of waiting on that project, and looking forward to a more progressive utility to really make distributed solar energy happen in Maine. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Sorry about the screen share.
All right. Thank you, Scott. That was very good. Let me share my screen back here. Okay, that should be in. Is that true? Back to the slideshow. Somebody give me a thumbs up, a nod. Okay, good. So thanks, everybody. Thank you especially to our corporate panelists whose sponsorship helps make these events possible. So I wanted to share with you just a quick little grid that maybe will give you a starting place for helping you think about which choice you want to make if you are considering community solar. So we've just put a few things here: headquarters, contract period, etc. And we filled it in for these three. If you go out onto the internet and Google for something like community solar in Maine, you will find many more companies. These guys are all great, but there are a bunch of others out there who are in the market as well. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. So these few criteria that I put here, there's many more that you could put in that might help you. So let's see, anything else there? Okay, I think we are ready to go to questions. I'm going to stop my screen share. And as Renee said at the beginning, you can either ask your questions by unmuting yourself, or you can throw some questions into the chat by clicking the little chat button at the bottom of your screen. And we'll take it from there. Renee, you want to take over the question handling?
Sure. Yeah, I haven't seen any questions in the chat yet, so let's just open it up to anybody who would like to unmute and speak up.
Well, I'll speak up. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming out and spending some time tonight doing this. And you answered a bunch of my questions right there in 15 minutes. And it's really exciting to see. I mean, one of the big, I think Chris from Revision talked about this in the beginning of trying this notion, and this is the way we've been selling community solar, is to level out people's energy costs. And especially for small businesses, our solar farm here, we want our small businesses to be able to predict their energy costs over the next few years, 10 years or so. And an ownership model does that. But with the other models that Nexamp and Powermarket are talking about, it gives people an easy way to get right in. And then at some point, if they're in a position to go to an ownership model, it doesn't seem real punitive to get in and out. And that was some of the questions that I had. So people can get right on the board. And then if there's an opportunity to develop ownership, then they can get out and do that. And there'll be plenty of other people to follow up. So thanks again for the succinct presentations. That was great.
I have a question. This is Don McLean. You can't see me because my video is turned off because of unstable connection. But I have a rooftop mount here at my house, and my excess energy is allocated to other people. And so my panels don't provide enough electricity for all the people that I would like to help out. And so I was wondering how that would blend with the community solar farm. There was some mention that could be done, but I have a cascading allocation, and I would like for somebody to speak to that if possible.
Yeah, I can touch on that, Mike. And thanks for the question, Don. So we have many customers that use community solar for the remaining amount of whatever their rooftop or on-site system can't cover, particularly for commercial customers with large electric load, where they install as much solar as they can on site, but can only cover 40%. They can do community solar in the state of Maine for the remaining 60. So we have a lot of customers under that paradigm. And then community solar helps with that as well, with the flexible allocations. So we can take a look at every 3-month interval and adjust it, up or down based on what the on-site solar is doing and what the usage and cost on your bills, on your CMP bills are looking like. So yeah, if you have some customers in mind that are either receiving some benefits from your solar system, but just can't get close to covering their full bill, we'd be happy to help them. And obviously, if you have other people in mind that the credits and benefits that you're producing just aren't touching their electric bills at all, we can certainly help them as well.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat here that we'll throw out to the group. First question, are the community solar providers guaranteeing 10 or 15%? Are there factors that result in a lower savings? What can they commit to?
Yeah, so I'm unmuted, so I'll go first. We guarantee a 15% discount on all solar credits for every single customer in Maine. I think it's important to restate what Mike said earlier, that we can't cover the minimum service charge, which is about $13 per month with CMP. But the solar credits that we're providing, your electric bills, they can offset delivery, supply, everything else on the bill. And we're guaranteeing at Nexamp a 15% discount on every solar credit that hits your bills.
I can jump in there really quickly, as we've taken the 10% approach, but we make sure that there are no entrance fees and no exit fees. So there's no potential for any exit or administrational fee that goes along with you leaving a project. We want to make sure that, again, solar is accessible and you can come in and out of the project, since there's no panels that you need to purchase. So, that's really a huge factor for us when it comes to that, 10% savings. And just like Chris was saying, we will provide that 10% discount to the credits applied. And the factors there are, again, Chris touched upon this as well, the allocations to make sure that you are having enough panels to suit your needs at home. And we'll change that on a monthly basis where, you'll start with, say, 10 panels, we'll move you up to 15 if you need more, or back down to 10 if you get LEDs. So we're constantly monitoring that and making sure we're trying to offset as much of your bill as possible. This way we can maximize your savings on a monthly basis.
Like the next question's for me, so I'll sort of jump right in there. So first of all, you can certainly have, just to backtrack a little bit, you can certainly pursue ownership community solar as a way to, as I said, supplement an existing rooftop array or an existing ground mount array at your property. And the credits can be allocated to the account, the same CMP account. So that's certainly feasible. And there's another question here, as I said, regarding what would the ownership model sort of be relative to that discount approach. All things considered, it's kind of hard to sort of give you a real apples to apples answer to that. It's not, we don't really focus the economics of these projects on you're getting a 10% discount. As I highlighted earlier, what we'd like to present to you is, here's what the utility is giving you right now per kilowatt hour. Kilowatt hours are the base unit of electricity. That's what our bills are based on. As I mentioned, CMP's current per kilowatt hour, when you combine supply and delivery, it's basically 15 cents, 0.149 in fact. And we'll certainly highlight to you what your ownership model investment will yield as a comparable kilowatt hour rate over the 25-year project term. And that is a really nice apples to apples comparison as far as a levelized cost of energy. So that'll be an important one to keep in mind. And we'll certainly also sort of give you an idea as to what your projected savings will be over that same 25-year project term. Of course, there's the very big, federal tax credit to keep in mind. That's going to lower your net cost. And when you do a calculation based on the projected electricity consumption over the project term and your net cost, you can arrive at a pretty good idea of, again, not only that kilowatt hour rate for a nice apples to apples comparison there, you can arrive at a pretty good idea as to how many thousands of dollars you'll save. Rest assured, it will be tens of thousands of dollars. So again, unfortunately, I can't really give you a good comparable answer as far as what the discount would be per se, but we have some pretty good numbers we can show you in order to highlight the value of the investment. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Let me jump in here to make sure I understand this correctly. The two folks who are offering subscription models offer a discount off of the standard offer from CMP, if I understand that correctly. So that's 10 or 15%. So if the standard offer changes, goes up because the PUC approves a rate increase,
which happens multiple times a year, I might add. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries, Chris. So that means your bill still goes up. You get 10 or 15% off of a higher rate. But on the owner model, you're more isolated from price increases. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, ultimately you sort of shield yourself against those. Again, as I said, the most recent time that CMP's rates went up, in fact, was in August. At that point, as I said, both the supply and delivery rate increased by a total of about 0.05, as well as the minimum connection fee. Right now, it's $13 and a little bit extra. It was $12.76 prior to that. Again, that most recent change was in August. So you do sort of shield yourself from all that, all that volatility ultimately when you invest in your own equipment that produces a predictable amount of electricity. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Great. We've got one more question in the chat for any of you all. That based on your observations to date, what would you say are potential contract pitfalls that you've seen consumers should be aware of?
Yeah, I can jump in really quickly. The devil's always in the details. So I would just look at the exit fees. We want to make sure that it's very easy to get out of the project. And again, because there's nothing on your roof, there's no reason why it shouldn't be. We want to make sure that, when people join our projects, they don't tend to leave. Like I said, we've been doing this for a long time and have had customers or subscribers stay with us for years and years and years and years, only leaving when they move. But ultimately that security blanket of knowing anything goes wrong, I can just get out of the project and I'm still saving money, or I've still saved money on the whole. I think that's very, very important.
So my first reaction when I started hearing all this is, wow, this sounds too good to be true. What do you tell people when they say that? It's too good to be true. I'm not even going to get it because there's a catch there somewhere.
Sorry, Chris, I see you're unmuted, so I've been talking. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, Mike, we get that all the time. I'm sure Powermarket does too. The subscription community solar model is really a no-brainer. So when someone says, where's the catch? How is this possible? Sounds too good to be true. I always point to the legislation. We're only able to offer this 15% guaranteed subscription on a very flexible contract that has no cancellation fees because of the state incentives, the tax credits, and the state of Maine just doing a good job supporting clean renewable energy and has very aggressive goals that we're trying to help the state hit. So when you're, on the back end, when we're bundling everything together with the tax credits, the federal and state financial incentives, and then obviously Central Maine Power pays us for the energy that we're feeding the grid. We're able to bundle that all together and offer very flexible contracts, no cost to participate, no cost to cancel, and guarantee a 15% discount on the credits themselves.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, we're all here at Tuesday night taking our 7 to 8 up. That's the catch, really, that we all have to be here, learn about a new product that is community solar. So, it is too good to be true, but we've all spent an hour here learning, and I think that's very important. And again, thank you, CEBE, for doing that. But, that seems to be the catch, that you gotta, jump through a couple hoops to really understand exactly what community solar is.
Renee, there's one more question about power purchase agreements. Could you ask that question and then sort of broaden it to what are the issues that businesses need to consider when considering community solar?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you asked the question, Mike, but yes, if you all want to speak to power purchase agreements for commercial accounts, maybe that means more to you all than it means to me.
Yeah, I'll touch on it. Nexamp really doesn't do PPAs for commercial accounts. We, try to get them on our subscription model with the 15% guaranteed discount on the credits. It's again just a lot more flexible, and with commercial customers, they're saving a lot of money with it. So generally speaking, we don't typically do PPAs. We will with like larger, multi-megawatt kind of anchor customers. So certainly we'd be willing to chat about it, but 90% of our commercial accounts just opt for the subscription model because it's so easy.
So I'll quickly say that, if you're a business owner, it's important to be aware as to how you're being billed by your utility. For example, if you have SGS, small general service, you can actually take part, based on the legislation as it's written, you can take part in a community solar farm comprised of homeowners. So that's pretty compelling for, small businesses. We do certainly have all sorts of options for larger commercial and municipal, interests as well, up to and including PPAs. So that's definitely something to discuss. I'll quickly jump to the next question. As far as the RECs, the Renewable Energy Certificates, that is definitely something that you can take advantage of if you pursue ownership-based community solar. And effectively, all those dollars can offset the annual costs involved with maintaining a community solar farm. Typically those costs around, the lease payment to the landowner, the insurance for the site, whatever minimal maintenance is involved, and all those REC dollars, again, as I said, can offset those costs. So that's certainly something you can realize. RECs, renewable energy certificates, for folks who've never heard that term before, I'd sort of say that it's sort of similar to carbon credits. It is a little bit nuanced, and there's mixed feelings with regards to the selling of renewable energy certificates, but that's sort of neither here nor there with regard to the question. Rest assured, you can certainly monetize those. Yes.
Chris, while you have the floor there, and then I'll pass it to the other two. The last question: have the projects anticipated what may happen if the state goes to a consumer-owned utility? How does that affect community solar for you?
Yeah, as I understand it, it shouldn't change. At this point, it's the Public Utilities Commission that is determining what law, what code the utility providers need to adhere to. Just because, and let's be clear, as much as I'm personally in favor of the proposal that Seth Berry's from Bodenham has put forth with regards to switching to a co-op, obviously that's by no means certain at this point. In any case, as I said, just because, even if it were to change, if CMP were no longer to be the provider, as well as Versant, let's not forget about them, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden the legislation would change. So it, in fact, shouldn't really make any difference with regard to how the net metering policy works, how that mechanism works, how that mechanism allows folks to move credits one way or another.
Chris Mills, Nick, any comments on consumer-owned utility?
I'll just piggyback off what Chris from Revision said. We don't see any real change. Hopefully, if it moves to a consumer-owned utility, we can connect projects faster.
Thank you.
Well said. I got nothing to add. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Great. Okay. Renee, shall I do my last poll here and see if people have learned anything? Got a few seconds left.
Sure.
Do it.
All right. See if I can figure out how to do the polling here. Okay, 3 questions here, folks. Should be on your screen. Please take a moment. Let's see how we did. Maybe 10 more seconds or so. Okay, looks like we've stabilized at 11 responses. So most people had some knowledge before coming into this, which is great. I knew some things. I knew a moderate amount were the 2 most popular. Rate your understanding of community solar now. 2/3 of the people responded that they picked up a couple of tidbits about community solar, and the remaining third said they learned lots about community solar. And then good news to you folks out there, you 3 panelists. Do you think you will try to join community solar provider in the next 6 months? We had 42% say it's quite certain, and another 33% saying I already participate. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And then a few percentage for the 50% chance and the little or no chance. Okay, I will end the poll now. Thank you very much for that. And I don't want to do that. Renee, thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists, very much. Thanks, audience. Renee, it's all yours to close it up.
Yeah, well, thank you to Mike too for doing all the heavy lifting, and yes, thank you to our panelists and to our participants. And I will send the recording to you all by email, so you can take a magnifying glass to those slides and check out all the details. But off to the rest of your night. And again, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
everyone.
everybody. Awesome job.